In the forgotten town of Evershade, time did not flow like everywhere else. The clocks ticked slower, the nights lingered longer, and the stars seemed to remember things that people forgot. At the heart of the town stood a small shop, Moreau's Timepieces, owned by an old clockmaker named Thomas Moreau. Thomas had built clocks all his life, beautiful, delicate creations that sang softly when they struck midnight. But hidden among them was one clock he never sold, an hourglass-shaped piece made of silver and glass that glowed faintly blue. The townsfolk often whispered about it. They said it could turn back time for the one who truly regretted something. Thomas lived alone. His wife, Eleanor, had died 50 years ago in a storm that swept the town. He had spent half a century wishing for one more moment with her, one last chance to say the words he never did. Every year, on the anniversary of her death, he wound the glowing clock, whispering, "Just one more day." But the clock never answered. One cold evening, as the rain pattered on the cobblestone streets, a young girl entered the shop. Her name was Clara, a violinist from the city, lost and soaked to the bone. Thomas offered her tea and listened to her story. She had missed her concert, her dream performance, and felt her life was ruined. "Time," he said softly, handing her a towel, "isn't cruel. It just waits for you to forgive yourself." Over the next few days, Clara stayed to help him around the shop. She dusted the shelves, polished the clocks, and listened to their ticking symphony. She noticed the silver-blue clock hidden under a cloth. "What's that one?" she asked. "That," Thomas said with a faint smile, "is a promise I've never kept." He told her about Eleanor, the laughter in her eyes, the storm that took her away, and the silence that followed. Clara's heart ached. "Why not use it?" she asked. "If it can turn back time." Thomas sighed. "Because some moments aren't meant to be changed, only understood." That night, as thunder roared and wind howled outside, Thomas found Clara crying by the window. She had received a letter. Her father had passed away while she was away chasing her dream. Guilt flooded her soul. "I wanted to make him proud," she whispered, "but I wasn't there." Thomas looked at her trembling hands, then at the silver clock. "Maybe," he said quietly, "it's time for a wish." He took the glowing timepiece and wound it 3 times. The air shimmered, the clocks stopped, the rain froze mid-air, and then silence. When the world began to move again, Thomas and Clara found themselves standing in the past, the day of the storm 50 years ago. The town looked younger, brighter. People moved like memories, unaware of them. Thomas saw himself a younger man running through the rain, shouting Eleanor's name. He watched as she stood on the pier, trying to reach him before the waves took her. Clara grabbed his hand. "Go to her," she urged. He walked toward the woman he had lost, his eyes filling with tears. She looked the same, her smile radiant, her voice soft as before. "Thomas," she whispered, "you're late again." He laughed through his tears. "I know." He held her, feeling warmth. He thought he'd forgotten. "I came to say I'm sorry for every moment I didn't say I loved you." She placed her hand on his cheek. "You always did. You just forgot to hear yourself say it." Lightning flashed. The storm grew stronger and Thomas knew it was time to let go. "Goodbye, my love," he whispered, "until time remembers us again." As the sea swallowed the pier, he closed his eyes and the world went white. When Clara opened her eyes, she was back in the shop. The storm had passed. The clocks ticked again, all except one. The silver-blue clock was still, its light fading softly. Thomas sat in his chair, smiling peacefully, his eyes closed forever. Clara wept, holding his hand. In his other hand was a note written in trembling ink. "Time doesn't heal everything, it just gives us the courage to say goodbye." She placed the note beside the clock and took over the shop. People came from miles away to hear the story of the clockmaker who fixed hearts instead of hours. Years later, when Clara grew old, she too wound the silver clock one last time and whispered, "Thank you for teaching me how to forgive time." And somewhere, beyond the ticking of the world, 2 souls reunited under an endless moon, laughing like they used to where no clock ever stops again.